Hello and welcome to my channel, and thank you for being here. Um, I'm going to talk about a few images again. The first is the caption reads, "Activist at the funeral of assassinated academic David Webster, Johannesburg, 1989." And this is related to the image that I spoke in the previous session from the region of Ingwavuma, the people of Ingwavuma, whom David Webster studied as an anthropologist. And here we see a portrait of a young man at his funeral. The image we spoke about yesterday was made in. Let me just get the. Yeah, well, I was working in the mid '80s with David Webster in Ngwabuma, and here in the late '80s, '89, attending his funeral, which was one of the biggest funerals held in Johannesburg at the time. I think rivaling that of Neil Agate, who had been killed in detention as well, white activists being taken out by the state, and a huge wellspring of support for these activists from largely black people and of course, white people as well. And I think this image captures the mood and the militancy of young people who, were embracing militancy and prepared literally to make a huge sacrifice, even death, to achieve change. And the T-shirt he wears that he's, worn to shreds, literally, remembers Solomon Mahlangu, who was hanged by the apartheid regime, and Konto Wesizwe, soldier who was apprehended, tried, and hanged. So just that solitary figure that speaks about the determination and the sacrifice of the youth that they had to make to achieve freedom in our country. And the second image that I'll look at, caption reads, "Youth injured in an attack by Inkatha members on the community of Mpophomeni in what was to be the start of the Natal War in that region. KwaZulu-Natal, 1986. And again, this portrait of a young man with a fresh wound on his head, still blood splattered on his face, in a hospital, in the immediate aftermath of what was to be the first salvo of a war that raged on for over a decade. Started in Natal then, and KwaZulu-Natal, and spread to Gauteng and elsewhere, where what could be seen as a proxy war, where the organization of Inkatha was used by the state to be an aggressor against the rising democratic force of United Democratic Front. And this image sort of kicked off a long engagement of mine with the township of Mpophomeni, because why Mpophomeni was chosen was because there was a strike in progress, which turned out to be the longest strike that's been in South African history, in fact, where a union resisted, the exploitative actions of a company, and organized that community, and were very successful doing so. So they had to be made an example of, to curb them and bring them back into line. And busloads of Inkatha members were bussed into this community, and they held a meeting in the community hall. And after that meeting, went on a rampage, beating up people and killing people. And they abducted some of the organizers, and a few were killed. It's a legendary story of the time. And this young man has that look of incredulity of having survived what he might have thought was certain death. And but also a look of determination as well. And yeah, it's an image for me that marks that the beginning of that bloody period. I went on to photograph Mpophomeni for some time, for years, and I've donated most of those images to the Mpophomeni Museum, not the Howick Museum, the Mpophomeni Museum within the township, because it's their heritage and history. And we should not forget. The Mandela capture site is very close to this township of Mpophomeni, but Mpophomeni is forgotten in history, which I think is a mistake, because Mpophomeni is made an incredible sacrifice in time towards our freedom. I'm going to talk about another two images that are not violence related, but capture the spirit of who we are as South Africans. The one we're looking at now is entitled Shack Dwellers in the Inner City, Johannesburg, 2001. And this intimacy, if you like, is what I grew up in, deep in KwaZulu, in the heart of KwaZulu-Natal. Of this was my understanding of, the level of friendships that men could have, and the way that they could express their feelings for each other. And whilst I'm not sure who these people are, whether they are even South Africans or from across our borders, it captures that kind of deep friendship that Africans are capable of. And the last image I'll talk about is entitled "The Homeland of KwaZulu," Inyoni, KwaZulu-Natal, 1983. So again, quite an early image of mine, and one of my favorites as well, because I really love the mood that is captured here, of this young woman standing on a hillside, on a pathway, and just full of the joy of life. And a very plain image, but her smile probably makes it, I guess. And her smile is largely because I had asked my father to take me out to this region. It was within sight of where we live, but back then in 1983, a place I'd never visited to, and I didn't even know how to get there. And my father was an adventurous soul who loved exploring places, and so he drove me out there. He knew how to get there and walked me around, understanding that I was this young, curious, inquiring photographer. And he, um, this, these two, this young woman and my father, were having a very innocent flirtation, and that resulted in her beautiful smile. And so I remember my dad when I think of of when I see this image, and his that light playfulness that he had in his spirit, which is reflected in her face. So yeah, I think I'll end it there, and say thank you for watching. And more information on myself and my work can be found on my website, a link to which, including my blog and email address, can be found in the video description below. If you liked this talk, remember to click the like button and press subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Thank you.